The sound of laughter wasn't what Mark expected to hear when he pulled into his quiet lake cabin. He had returned a day early from his business trip, hoping for silence, maybe the sound of wind through pine trees. But instead, voices echoed from inside, familiar ones. His gate was open, his porch light was on, and there were cars parked that definitely weren't his. A cold wave of confusion hit him. Who was in his home? As he stepped closer, he froze. Through the open window, he saw 3 people inside his living room, drinking, laughing, and even flipping through his mail. Then his eyes locked on one of them, and his confusion turned into disbelief. It was Karen, the president of his HOA, the same woman who fined him for leaving his canoe near the lake and lectured him about community rules. Mark quietly started recording with his phone. The video would show exactly what she was doing in his home. His calm turned into a strange kind of focus. He wasn't going to shout or confront, not yet. He wanted them to dig their own hole first. He whispered under his breath, "You picked the wrong cabin this time, Karen." Mark circled around to the back of the cabin, his phone camera still rolling. Inside, Karen and her 2 HOA friends were behaving as if they owned the place. One of them even opened his refrigerator, grabbing drinks like it was some community picnic. "This cabin should have been shared with the HOA years ago," Karen said proudly, "but he refuses to cooperate. Maybe if we show him how nice it looks with people actually using it, he'll change his mind." Mark clenched his jaw but stayed silent. He remembered the warning letters, the fake property line arguments, even the threats about violations. Now, this was proof of everything: trespassing, invasion of privacy, and hypocrisy. Suddenly, Karen walked toward the office door, the room where Mark kept his property files and security backups. She turned the handle and disappeared inside. Mark's stomach dropped. That room had the full camera feed. If she looked at the monitor, she'd know she was being recorded. He quickly backed away and whispered, "Not today." He opened his truck door quietly, planning something bigger than confrontation, a perfect public exposure. Mark drove a few yards down the road and parked behind a row of trees, opening his laptop. His cabin cameras were live. He zoomed in. Karen now stood in his office, looking at papers. One of the men beside her said nervously, "Karen, maybe we shouldn't be here." She smirked, "Oh please, he's not back till tomorrow. And even if he finds out, the HOA can handle it." Mark smiled. "Let's see the HOA handle this." He uploaded the live footage to his private cloud and made sure every angle, from Karen opening his mail to the man sitting on his couch, was saved. Then, he called the local sheriff's office. "Yes," he said calmly, "there are people in my home right now." "No, I didn't give them permission." "And yes, I have them all on video." Minutes later, the cabin security system's motion sensors sent an alert. The trespassers were still inside. Mark stayed parked, heart pounding, watching it unfold, knowing that justice was finally on its way. 10 minutes later, flashing lights appeared in the distance. Karen, who had just popped open another bottle of wine, froze as a sheriff's vehicle rolled into the driveway. Mark watched through the live feed as her confidence melted into panic. One deputy knocked loudly. "Sheriff's Department. Anyone inside?" Karen's voice cracked. "Oh, we're just here for a community inspection." The deputy raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, this property isn't HOA territory. Whose name's on the deed?" Karen stammered, "It's... I think it's Mark's." "And you have permission to be here?" She tried smiling. "We oversee community safety, officer." "Then you won't mind if we call the owner," the deputy said, pulling out his phone. Seconds later, Karen's face turned pale when the phone rang and she heard Mark's voice answer. Mark stepped out of his truck and started walking toward them, recording everything. Karen's eyes widened. "You!" she gasped. Mark's calm voice cut through the air. "I told you to stay off my land. But you just couldn't help yourself, could you?" Karen's perfect composure cracked completely. "Mark, this isn't what it looks like," she stammered. "We were just making sure your place was secure." Mark tilted his head. "By drinking wine and reading my mail?" The deputy turned toward her, unimpressed. "Ma'am, this looks like trespassing." You're lucky the owner didn't press burglary charges. Karen looked desperate now, her voice trembling. Can't we handle this privately? It's just a misunderstanding. Mark crossed his arms. You fine me for having the wrong shade of fence paint, threatened to tow my truck, and now you break into my house. Tell me, Karen, how private do you think this should stay? The deputy looked at Mark. Sir, would you like to press charges? Mark paused. His instinct wanted to say yes, but something in him said no. He had a better plan, one that would hurt her reputation more than a court case ever could. He smirked. Not today, officer. Let her go. I think she'll learn her lesson. Soon. Karen exhaled in relief, not knowing that the real storm was just beginning. The next morning, Mark uploaded the full footage to a private link and emailed it, not to the police, but to every HOA member. The video showed everything: Karen laughing, drinking, opening drawers, and pretending she owned his cabin. Within hours, his inbox exploded with messages. Some apologized, others were furious. By evening, an emergency HOA meeting was called. Karen showed up red-eyed and furious. This is harassment, she shouted. He's twisting everything. But no one backed her up. One board member stood and said, You told us this was a routine inspection, Karen. Turns out, it was a party. Her voice cracked as she said, It was just a mistake. But the members had already voted. She was removed as HOA president. Mark watched from afar, a quiet satisfaction washing over him. He hadn't yelled. He hadn't fought. He'd simply shown the truth. Weeks later, peace returned to the lake cabin. No more surprise fines, no more harassment. Karen's name had become a whisper, the kind people laughed about quietly. The new HOA president even visited Mark personally, apologizing and promising the board would never overstep again. Mark smiled and said, Good. Let's just keep it that way. But before leaving, the new president added, Karen moved away. Said she couldn't handle the embarrassment. Mark nodded, staring at the reflection of the lake. Sometimes, he said softly, people dig their own downfall. All I did was give them a mirror. He turned off his porch light and walked back inside his cabin, his peace restored. His property respected, and his story forever proof that calm revenge speaks louder than anger, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you loved the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.